In this session, we wanted to take a few moments now and challenge our expectations. We want to challenge some of our expectations that we have on these habits that we just can't quit. Now, there's a field of study called motivational expectancy theory. It's all about outcome expectations. It examines what you expect to gain from your behavior. And we can ask that. We can ask that about this addiction or this habit that we can't seem to break. What are our expectations? For example, often when you talk to someone that smokes, they believe it relaxes them. It reduces their stress. It makes them more alert. Or, I've met a lot of people being a recovery coach where people will tell me that they're drinking because it makes them more sociable or happier or carefree. It relaxes them. Now take a moment here and write down, what do you expect? What do you expect when you get involved with your habit? What is the payback? What are you expecting from it? Take a moment and write that down. I hope you were able to come up with something, because that's really important. And this isn't a pass-fail test here. No one's looking at this. No one's reading this. You need to be honest with yourself and say what it is. We don't, there's a payback for everything we do. What's the gain? What are you gaining from it? But here's the truth. All the positive expectations you come up with are just smoke screens. They're lies. Not one is true. It would be like claiming that bank robbery is the answer to all your financial worries. Is it? Well, it may be a temporary solution, but it's one that's a wrong choice and only leads to disaster. So yeah, I get it. It has a short-term gain, but in the long run, it's not solving the problem. It's not solving the problem. Every one of our expectations, relaxing, reduced stress, alertness, sociability, happiness, they can be made without our addictions. They can be found to be satisfying without our addictions. So let's look at some of the three psychological traps that keep us going in our habits and addictions: rationalization, cognitive dissonance, and denial. The first is, rationalization. These are powerful, deceitful mind traps, and rationalization is one of them. It's a defense mechanism in which controversial behaviors or feelings are justified and explained in a seemingly rational or logical manner to avoid the true explanation, and are made consciously tolerable or even admirable and superior. Now that's kind of like a dictionary definition, isn't it? And you may need to read that again, but we'll explain it here in a minute. The other is cognitive dissonance. And I remember when I was in college in psychology and we studied this one, it hit me right between the eyes because it made so much sense once I started thinking about it. It's a state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes or behavior, the decisions we make, and that. In other words, when the perceived image of yourself is in disagreement with your behavior. It's that state of having inconsistent thoughts and beliefs and attitudes to who you think you are, okay? And then denial is a defense mechanism in which confrontation with a personal problem or with reality is avoided by denying the existence of the problem or the reality. So let's look at that. In rationalization, then, we rationalize or we make excuses for addictive behavior. This is common among people with addictions, is usually accompanied by extreme denial. They have many reasons why they should stay involved in their habit. If a person's trying to cut out sugar is triggered by a box of donuts, it results in an intense inner conflict. They want to avoid sugar, but they want to eat the pastry. They rationalize, I worked hard this morning, so I deserve this. Or I can run this off later today when I jog. Have you ever done that? See, that's what rationalization is. But what causes someone to hang on to the behavior when they know deep down in their hearts that they're wrong? It's more than just rationalizing, right? That's where that cognitive dissonance and denial come in. You see, our discernment and reasoning are based on a combination of our thoughts, experiences, and our senses. And when presented with conflicting options that disagree with our perceived images of ourselves, it results in that inner conflict. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I obey the law. Why am I taking these drugs, you see? Or, I'm a health-conscious person. I care for my body, so why am I doing this? And so we have this dissonance going on. And so to return to harmony, when we don't feel we can get rid of the habit, we make excuses. That's a rationalization. To do what we want to do, and we refuse to acknowledge that there's a problem. I mean, Philip Morris used to go around giving speeches why cigarette smoking isn't bad for your health. Well, can you imagine? I mean, they owned the biggest tobacco company in the world, of course. It doesn't make sense to feel I'm a good, upstanding citizen, I employ people, I'm a philanthropist, and yet I created something here that's killing people. I mean, that's cognitive dissonance, you see. And so to return to harmony, we make up all these excuses and we get into denial. And when that occurs, we want to control, right? We want to control things. And so we have to decide. We either believe a reason for doing what we have decided to do, and then we come up with these reasons and rationalizations. And we do that because the act of violating our self-image, or what we think we are, must be justified in our own mind, because we cannot live with the fact that we're doing something that is in violation of what or who we believe we are. No one wants to believe negative things about themselves. And see, that's what happens when it starts to become an addiction, when it starts to become something that we want to stop, but we just can't seem to stop it. You see, moderation in drinking isn't wrong. A person that drinks a little wine with a meal once in a while, that's not wrong. And so we're not faulting necessarily the alcohol, but when you're drinking earlier in the day, you're drinking to where you're getting drunk, you're spending the money you should be spending on other things, and you're starting to have erratic behavior. You see, that's the part that we want to get rid of. And the truth is, you may never be able to return to just a drink once in a while, and that's a different issue, and that's okay. That's where we'll have to maybe think. But the point is, where the denial comes in, is that we try to deny that it's a big problem. Oh, I can stop any time. Have you ever heard that one? Or it's not that bad. Well, hey, I'm not as bad as he is. Or, it's just this once. Or no one will ever know. Hey, I'm not killing anybody. And that's the part when we start to feel guilty, and the fact that we can't seem to stop, that we know that someone's going to be upset with us perhaps if they knew that we can't stop, or our body turns out to be a way we didn't want it to be, or our behavior is counter to the way that we were taught to behave. When things get that way, that's when it becomes a problem, and that's when these things kick in. But my friends, there's hope today. It's hope today. We can break the cycle. We need to decide to stop. And we need to stop the madness and get into a program, get some help, get a counselor, start going to programs, decide, hey, I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and I can't do this by myself, so I'm going to get the help I need. And when you do that, there's help. There's help. So ask yourself, after all this time, you'd like to think you're solving, those original problems. Maybe you were depressed. Maybe things were just upset. Maybe you feel sad. But you know what? It may have been social anxiety or tension, but you know what? This hasn't stopped it at all. Have you really solved them, or are we just escaping? Has our habit really cured any of those? Are we gaining the benefits we thought we were going to get? No. By now, we're at the place where our habit is our place of tension, our aggravation, and we're anxious about. And our physical ailments caused by all that withdrawal or whatever else is causing havoc in our life. And what we really need to escape now is the reality of that heightened effect of using, of our habits. And the answer is to stop using. There's no gain in continuing. Believing that your addiction or habits can fulfill your needs is a false notion. There's a much better way to solve the original problem and feelings you set out to eliminate. The withdrawal effects will subside if you let them. You will be amazed at how tension and other symptoms you intended your addiction to solve will legitimately go away when you stop using and you get the help. You can do this. You can ride out the discomfort of detox and withdrawal if indeed that's going to be an issue, if you're willing to try. Now, in some cases, you don't want to do it by yourself. Some forms of alcohol and street or pharmaceutical drugs, it can be dangerous, and so you always should check with your doctor before trying to stop. And that's not a bad place. Talk to your doctor. Talk to someone else that's stopped. Get the help that you need, because you can do it. You can do this. Still not convinced? Well, in the next session, we're going to look at I have my reasons. And we're going to try to expose some of those reasons that we keep hanging on. So come back and let's go through that session together. Thanks for joining us today with Breaking Bad Habits. Please share this video with others. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of the exciting things that we send out. Continue to join us here on the Ron Ovitt YouTube channel, and you can also find other materials that we have at ronovitt.com. That's ronovitt.com.